In the vast, white hell of the Eastern Front, one man could be an army. One bullet could hold a line, and one decision could mean the difference between life and death for hundreds. This is a story not of a massive offensive, nor a clash of armored giants, but of a solitary vigil in the frozen silence. It is a story of precision against overwhelming force, of patience against brute strength. The official records of the 44th Infantry Division are filled with notations of engagements, casualty lists, and movements. But one entry from January 17, 1942, near the besieged city of Leningrad, is different. It speaks not of a company or a platoon, but of one man, Gefreiter or Lance Corporal Matthias H. It notes his position, his assignment, and a single, staggering fact. His actions that day halted the advance of an entire Soviet rifle battalion for over 8 critical hours. How was this possible? What could one soldier possibly do against such a force? The question hangs in the frigid air. When a sniper faced an army alone in the snow, what was his one advantage? To understand the sheer scale of the odds, we must first set the scene. It is the winter of 1941-1942, one of the most brutal in recorded European history. Temperatures have plummeted to minus 30 degrees Celsius and below. The German Wehrmacht, which had advanced with seeming invincibility during Operation Barbarossa, is now frozen in place, overextended, and desperately unprepared for the conditions. Their offensive against Leningrad has stalled into a grueling siege, and now the Red Army is pushing back. Our story focuses on a sector held by the 132nd Infantry Regiment, part of the 44th Infantry Division. The division is battered, under strength, and clinging to a series of thinly held positions in a landscape of deep snow, dense skeletal birch forests, and frozen marshes. Their lines are not a continuous trench, but a string of isolated strongpoints, often out of visual contact with one another. One such strongpoint is designated Outpost Greif, a cluster of log-reinforced bunkers and dugouts atop a slight rise overlooking a vital road. This road is a lifeline for a larger German battalion positioned further east. If it is cut, that battalion would be isolated and annihilated. The commander of the 132nd's 2nd Battalion knows this. He also knows he has no men to spare. Every rifle is needed on the main line. To guard this crucial flank, he makes a calculated, almost desperate decision. He assigns one man. That man is 24-year-old Gefreiter Matthias H., a hunter from the Bavarian Alps before the war. He is not a flamboyant character. He is quiet, methodical, and possesses an almost supernatural patience. He is also one of the regiment's few designated Scharfschützen, snipers, equipped not with the standard Karabiner 98K, but with the rarer, more precise Gewehr 43 sniper variant, fitted with a 4X ZF4 scope. His ammunition is carefully hand-loaded for consistency. His orders are simple, yet utterly daunting. Occupy the forward observation bunker at Outpost Greif. Observe the tree line 600 meters to the north. Report any enemy movement, and, if necessary, delay any attempt to take the outpost for as long as humanly possible. He is given a 2-day supply of hardtack and frozen sausage, extra ammunition, and a white Zeltbahn, a shelter quarter, to use as a camouflage cape. He is alone. The nearest friendly troops are at the main outpost, 300 meters behind him, a full company themselves tied down and expecting a frontal assault. Matthias's advantage at this moment seems theoretical, his skill, his rifle, and the elevation of his position. But he is about to discover that his true weapon was one the enemy never saw coming. For the first 24 hours, there is only the cold and the silence. Matthias spends his time not in the bunker, which offers shelter but a limited field of view, but in a carefully constructed firing position he scrapes into the snow at the edge of a woodpile. He lines it with pine branches and drapes his white Zeltbahn over himself and his rifle. To any observer, even from a short distance, he is just another mound of wind-drifted snow. He practices his breathing, watches the mercury in his small thermometer drop, and scans the distant tree line through his scope. The world is monochrome: white ground, gray sky, black trees. His vigilance is rewarded just after dawn on January 17th. Through the scope, the tree line begins to move, not as a whole, but in subtle, shifting patches. It is not the massed charge he might have expected. The Soviets are professionals. They are the scouts in the first wave of the 245th Rifle Regiment, and they are using the terrain expertly. Small squads, clad in white Moscalot oversuits, flit from tree to tree, using the underbrush and dips in the ground for cover. They are conducting a reconnaissance in force, probing the German lines for weakness. Matthias counts. One squad, then another. A light machine gun team sets up behind a fallen log. He keys his field telephone, its wire running back to the main outpost. His voice is a low whisper, barely audible over the wind. Greif forward to Greif main. Enemy scouts in tree line at Sector 7. Estimate platoon strength. They are advancing by bounds. The company commander's crackly response comes back. Acknowledge. Hold fire. Do not reveal your position unless absolutely necessary. We are reinforcing the main perimeter. Matthias understands. He is the eyes. The main outpost is bracing for an attack they believe is coming at them. But as the morning wears on, a chilling pattern emerges. The Soviet squads are not concentrating for a direct assault on the main outpost. Instead, they are spreading out, filtering through the forest, directly toward his isolated bunker. They have identified it as the key to flanking the entire German position. By 10:30 hours, the lead elements are within 400 meters. He reports again. Enemy is bypassing main objective. They are converging on my position. Estimate company strength now. The response is grim. Greif forward, you are to implement delay protocol. We cannot send help. Repeat, we cannot send help. You must buy us time to adjust the line. How copy? Matthias takes a slow breath, the air searing his lungs. Copy. Implementing delay. He is now officially on his own. The theoretical has become horrifically real. He estimates over 150 enemy soldiers, perhaps more, are methodically closing in on his one-man outpost. He has 40 rounds of loaded ammunition on his person and another 100 in the bunker. The mathematics of war are brutally clear. By 1100 hours, the first Soviet skirmishers are at the edge of the clearing, just 200 meters from his bunker. They pause, studying the silent, ominous structure. It looks abandoned. A junior officer, identifiable by his map case, raises a pair of binoculars. This is the moment. The sniper's calculus is not about killing the most men, it is about causing the maximum tactical disruption. He selects the officer. The crack of the Gewehr 43 is sharp, a single, flat report that echoes across the frozen clearing. The officer drops. Instantly, the Soviet soldiers dive for cover. For a long moment, there is confusion. The shots seem to come from everywhere and nowhere. A machine gunner opens up, hosing fire wildly at the bunker's firing slits, splintering the logs. But Matthias is not in the bunker. He is 20 meters to its left, a ghost in the snow. He carefully shifts his aim. The chattering machine gun is a beacon. He finds the gunner's exposed shoulder, visible over the log. He exhales halfway and squeezes. The machine gun falls silent. Now, the real psychological battle begins. What follows is a masterclass in isolated, asymmetric warfare. Matthias does not fire rapidly. He waits. He moves, not far, just a meter or two to a secondary position he'd prepared, dragging his white cape over him. He becomes part of the landscape again. The Soviets, now pinned down and taking casualties from an invisible foe, call up heavier support. By 1300 hours, a 50mm mortar team has been assembled in the tree line. Matthias sees them setting up through his scope. He has a terrible choice. Let them begin shelling his position and the main outpost with impunity, or reveal his general location by firing at them. He chooses the latter. His first shot misses the crew but kicks up snow directly in front of them, sending them scrambling. His second shot wounds the mortar gunner. The bombardment is stillborn, but the muzzle flash from his rifle has given away his approximate position. A storm of rifle and submachine gun fire tears into the woodpile and the snow around him. Bullets snap overhead, thud into logs. A fragment of splintered wood cuts his cheek. He presses himself into the frozen earth, heart hammering against his ribs. Fear is a physical weight. He is trapped. Any movement could draw fire. Staying still means they might eventually pinpoint him or simply overrun him. Using the covering fire, a squad of 10 Soviet infantrymen launches a determined rush across the open ground toward his bunker. They are shouting, "Hurrah!" This is the crisis. If they secure the bunker, they have cover. They can flank him, call in precise mortar fire, and the game is over. He has perhaps 30 seconds before they are on it. He rises to one knee, ignoring the bullets whipping past. The world narrows to his scope. He works with lethal mechanical efficiency. First shot, the lead soldier at 150 meters drops. Second shot, the man behind him stumbles. He chambers another round. Third shot, a soldier nearing the bunker's door jerks and falls. He is not just shooting to kill, he is shooting to break the momentum of the charge. The squad, seeing 3 men fall in as many seconds from an unseen shooter, loses its nerve. They break off the charge, diving into shell holes and behind sparse cover in the field. They are now stranded, pinned down in the open. But Matthias has fully revealed himself. A Soviet platoon leader now directing fire has identified his woodpile. Concentrated automatic weapons fire begins to systematically chew it apart. Matthias is forced to crawl, dragging his rifle and ammo pouch through a shallow communication trench he'd partially dug the day before. It leads back toward the bunker, but he stops halfway. He is now in no man's land, with enemies to his front and his own abandoned bunker to his back. He is surrounded. The cold is no longer just weather. It is a sapper of his strength, seeping through his greatcoat, stiffening his fingers. His ammunition is dwindling. He has been engaged for over 4 hours. The sheer mental exhaustion of constant hypervigilance is overwhelming. Each scan of the terrain, each identification of a target, each controlled breath for a shot drains a little more of his resolve. Worst of all, he sees new movement in the distant tree line. Reinforcements. A fresh company, perhaps, moving to support the pinned-down assault troops. The sun, a pale disk, is already beginning to sink in the mid-afternoon sky. Soon, the brutal cold of night will descend. In the darkness, the Soviets could easily infiltrate and overwhelm him. He has delayed them, but he has not stopped them. The situation seems utterly hopeless. He is one man against a battalion, out of position, low on ammo, and with the certain knowledge that no relief is coming. Lying in the frozen trench, with the sounds of enemy movement and sporadic gunfire around him, Matthias faces a silent reckoning. To fall back to the main outpost is impossible. The open ground behind him is a killing field. To stay is to die. His mind, trained by years of hunting, circles the problem. The enemy knows he is a sniper. They know he is in or near the woodpile and the bunker. They are focused on him, the shooter. But what if the shooter was no longer the primary threat? His gaze falls on the landscape itself, the deep, pristine snow, the wind which has picked up, beginning to drift fresh powder over the carnage of the day. And then he looks at his white Zeltbahn, now smudged with dirt and powder burns. In a moment of inspired, desperate clarity, he realizes his one true, overwhelming advantage. It was never just the rifle. It was never just his skill. His one advantage was the entire environment. He formulates a plan of breathtaking audacity. It is a hunter's plan. He will make the land itself his ally and the enemy's enemy. First, he carefully ties a long piece of cord to the trigger of a spare rifle he had stored in the bunker. He rigs it near a firing slit, pointed roughly toward the enemy. He loads a single round. The cord runs out a small hole in the rear of the bunker and into the trench network. Next, he takes his remaining stick grenades and rigs them as booby traps on the approaches to the bunker, their pins carefully tied to tripwires made of fishing line. But the core of his plan is more psychological.
He uses a sharpened stick to carefully, slowly poke small, rifle-width holes in the snow at various locations along a 100-meter arc, behind a hummock, next to a stump, at the base of a bent sapling. From each, he clears a minor field of fire. To an observing enemy scout, these would look like prepared sniper positions. They're decoys. He then retreats, not toward his own lines, but on a wide, painstakingly slow flanking movement. He uses a shallow drainage ditch, then crawls through a patch of dense, scrubby brush, his white cape over him. He moves like a ghost, an inch at a time, over the course of an hour. He stops 150 meters to the east of his original position, placing himself between the Soviets and their line of retreat to the tree line. He finds a natural depression, a shell crater partially filled with snow, and settles in. He is now behind the advanced Soviet elements pinned in the field. He is in their rear. The final touch. As the light begins to fade into the deep blue of late afternoon, he gives a sharp pull on the long cord. The rifle in the bunker fires its lone shot. Instantly, as he predicted, the Soviet forces concentrate a torrent of fire on the bunker. Machine guns, rifles, even anti-tank rifle rounds slam into it. The decoy has worked. In the chaos, Matthias, from his new unseen position, begins a slow, deliberate campaign of harassment. He does not target the men in the field. He targets the command and support elements still in the tree line. A runner carrying a message falls. A radio operator adjusting his sets slumps over. Each shot comes from a seemingly new direction, adding to the paralyzing confusion. The Soviet commanders now face a nightmare scenario. They're taking casualties from an unseen sniper they cannot locate. Their lead elements are pinned in the open. Their support is under fire. The single German outpost, which they thought housed perhaps a stubborn squad, now seems like a death trap, possibly mined and rigged with tripwires. And with darkness coming, the prospect of being caught in the open, in this killing zone in sub-zero temperatures, is a recipe for mass casualties. The will to press the attack breaks. A whistle blows from the tree line, then another. The stranded infantry in the field begin a ragged, desperate retreat, dragging their wounded, scrambling back toward the forest. They are now exposed, and Matthias, with the setting sun at his back, has clear targets. But he does not fire. His mission was delay, not slaughter. He watches, silent and unmoving, as the enemy disengages. They melt back into the darkening forest, leaving behind their dead, a shattered machine gun, and the deepening silence of the snow. He had used the snow not just as camouflage, but as a canvas for deception. He used the enemy's expectation of a static defender to outflank them mentally and physically. His one advantage was his understanding that in this white void, perception was more powerful than position. Matthias H. remained in his crater until full darkness, then made his way back to the main outpost under the cover of a moonless night. He was exhausted, suffering from the early stages of frostbite on his toes and fingers, and emotionally drained. His report was terse, matter-of-fact. The company commander, seeing the returning Soviet forces through his own binoculars, could scarcely believe it. The cost? From his position, Matthias had fired 67 rounds. He was credited with 11 confirmed kills, though the disruptive effect of his actions was incalculable. The Soviet 245th Rifle Regiment's war diary for that day notes a failed reconnaissance in force due to unexpectedly strong enemy resistance in fortified positions and heavy sniper activity, suffering 24 casualties. The road to the isolated German battalion remained open. The battalion itself would be extracted along that road 2 nights later. For his actions on January 17, 1942, Gefreiter Matthias H. was personally decorated by his divisional commander. He was awarded the Iron Cross, First Class, a rare honor for a junior enlisted man, and the Infantry Assault Badge. The citation specifically mentions his independent judgment, heroic steadfastness, and skillful conduct which single-handedly disrupted a battalion-strength enemy assault, preventing the encirclement of friendly forces. But the true legacy of Matthias H. lays beyond the medal citation. His story, passed through regiment and division, became a legend of the Eastern Front, a testament to the power of individual initiative, specialized training, and psychological warfare. It demonstrated that a single, determined soldier, intelligently using terrain and psychology, could exert an influence on the battlefield far disproportionate to his numbers.
He was not a superhero. He was a craftsman of war, who, when faced with annihilation, used his environment not just to hide, but to think, to adapt, and ultimately to convince an army that it was facing an insurmountable force. He survived the war, returning to his beloved Alps in 1945, where he seldom spoke of that frozen day near Leningrad. The snow, once his weapon, became again simply snow. This was just one of countless untold stories from the Second World War, a story where the front line was a single set of footprints in the snow, and victory was measured not in miles gained, but in hours bought. Subscribe to WWII Records as we continue to bring these forgotten chapters of history back to life.